Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. You are going to love our Turquoise Talk guest today, Amber Trueblood. We had such a great conversation on her new book and all the work that she's doing to help moms and entrepreneurs overcome overwhelm. So a little bit about Amber. Amber Trueblood, MBA, is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's a best-selling author, speaker, and mother of 4 sons. Yes, 4 boys. A lot of boy joy going on over there in her house. She has over 25 years experience in mental health and co-founded the Mecca Project to help teens and young adults thrive mentally and emotionally through conscious awareness. Amber has been featured in People, Oprah Magazine, CNN, Motherhood Maternity, KTLA5, Good Day LA, and many more. You can learn more about Amber at ambertrueblood.com, and you're just going to love this conversation. So let's get right to it. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm your host, Martine Williams, your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer, and I'm really excited about today's topic and Turquoise Talk guest, Amber Trueblood. So thank you, Amber, so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to connect with your audience today.
Yes, such an important topic. So before we dive into that, can you just share a little bit about you, your journey, and just how you became an entrepreneur and an author and all of those amazing things?
Sure, of course. I love talking to entrepreneur moms. It really is my favorite people. And I just have to say this first, because I didn't know you all existed for the longest time in my life. And I didn't know I was one because I didn't have a business.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I was one. I was an entrepreneur mom without a business. That was so frustrating.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's wrong with me? People kept saying, like, you have 4 small kids, just chill, like, enjoy this. And I was like, I'm trying.
Right.
But I'm not happy. And now I feel guilty. Y'all made me feel like something's wrong with me. Or I made my, not that anybody can make us feel. But so, yes, my name's Amber Trueblood. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have 4 boys. So they are right now 10, 12, 14, and 15 years old.
Okay.
We homeschooled for a few years as we were traveling. And then we ended up homeschooling through COVID a little bit because that was easier for me than managing 4 different like virtual home schooling, which was just not working for me.
Right.
Probably not working for them either, but mainly not working for me.
Right.
So I was like, we know how to do this our other way. So let's just hop back in. And now they're back in traditional school. And, I'm all about, serving and supporting overwhelmed moms. Mm-hmm. I really love practical strategies for reducing stress and overwhelm, both preventatively, like what can you do every morning, every night, once a week, and in the moment strategies like, holy mackerel, I have 2.5 minutes until I'm about to go on this, live interview or until I have to show up in this meeting. And my brain is just spinning about whatever just happened at home or with my other business or with my parents who are ill. And how do I kind of calm my nervous system, get focused on the moment so I can be clear and move forward without feeling like I'm totally faking it. I have no idea. I don't even remember what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to just smile and crush my way through it. So I love sharing those kinds of skills. I also love talking about communication stuff. And then as of late with my latest book, I love sharing strategies for reducing overwhelm and anxiety through my framework of the 5 anxiety styles. So that's what I've been having a really fun time sharing lately.
And it's so needed. I mean, all of it is those in the heat of the moment, strategies and practical ways. And then, like you said, like what can we do to prevent? I think that's kind of where I come from. A lot of the things that I talk about is, I don't want you to get to that point of burnout. I don't want you to get to that place of overwhelm, because then we're in repair mode. Let's do some preparation and try to prevent some of those things, so that we're not trying to repair damage, because sometimes that damage can be pretty serious, right? From a physical standpoint and an emotional standpoint. So how can we work to prevent you from getting to that place? Which is kind of opposite of what I feel like a lot of the culture is. The culture is like, well, let's just wait until we get there and then let's try to fix it, right? Instead of preparing. And there's a lot of great things and easy things that moms can do to prepare and prevent.
I love that. I love that. So don't wait. And also don't wait for somebody else to say like, hey, Martine, like you look off. Like, are you feeling okay? Do you need some support? Like, hopefully you have some amazing friends and colleagues like that around you who can tune in.
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't. And so, we're the best provider of tuning into yourself, having that self-awareness to know, oh, wait, I call it your emotional bank account. I feel my emotional bank account getting lower, lower, lower. If one more thing happens right now, I'm screwed. Like I'm going to scream at somebody. I'm going to screw up something. I'm going to not be able to sleep. I'm going to twist my ankle because I'm not paying attention, like amplify. I'm word folder, like roll, like where it's like snowball. That's
well, it does. It just kind of builds and builds and builds on itself. So the other day, we had some company in town, and when you were talking about your nervous system, her and I we were at this new like bowling alley. And we had our families there, and her and I were just having this conversation. She's a teacher, so we were just having this conversation around like, we walk into this place, it's loud with people already, and then there were like 6 different TVs on 6 different channels, plus all the lanes were lit up, different things, and it was all virtual reality stuff everywhere. And I'm like, and we wonder why we're all just like, our nervous systems are just overstimulated, and kids are the same way. And we talked about how, when my kids watch, I'm a boy mom as well. I have 2 boys. One is just graduated high school, going to be going to college next year.
Goodness.
And then my other one and my other one's 15. But just when they watch one of the movies, like from back when I like old movie, they're like, it's so slow. I'm like, it's really not. It's really not. It's actually better, but our nervous systems get so dysregulated and so overstimulated. And then we do fly off the handle.
We just watched The Social Dilemma last night.
Yes, again. Girl.
I had all my kids watch it because this is our first summer where everybody has cell phones.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this so much. And we live in San Diego. It's like heaven outside. It's gorgeous, perfect weather. We pay a lot to live here. Y'all are not sitting in your rooms with a cell phone.
Right.
That's not the same as being with your friends. I'm sorry. So
it's not.
So we watched that. But one of the things they talked about that just sparked when you said it was, that as fast as, technology and all this VR and AI is developing, our nervous system, like our brains, our bodies are not evolving. We've hardly evolved in the past several hundred years.
True.
Like we are not evolving in remotely the same pace as everything around us. So we need to get used to it. Oh, they're more used to it. Yes, they're more adept at technology, but that's because technology has evolved to make it as easy as possible to use it. So 2-year-olds can use it. And that's on purpose. So like we have to decide for ourselves, does this feel good?
Right.
And sometimes it does in the moment, especially with kids, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Right.
But afterwards, there's this, just like drugs or alcohol, like afterwards, there's this dip. And so how do we teach ourselves and our kids to attune to that and notice like, man, I feel wiped. I feel exhausted. I feel kind of sad.
Yeah.
And what's that about? And then just noting that so you can be more self-aware next time, take some breaks.
Right. Because I think some of that is attributed to the overwhelm. And that's one of your big things that you're talking about. And we want to talk about today is this addiction to overwhelm, and how do we overcome that? And I do think all of those things kind of contribute to just that feeling of overwhelm.
Definitely. I do agree. And I talk in my book about super senses. And this is one way we can get into some, strategies right away that can help people. But so I have a quiz and I do recommend taking it because I'm more triggered by auditory. Because I live in a house with 4 boys. They all play music. There's a guitar sitting right next to me. There's an acoustic drum set like 10 feet that way. I'm surrounded by noise all the time. And I'm always telling them, shh, be quiet, be quiet.
Right. Yeah.
But what came up for me was that I'm more visually oriented when it comes to emotional triggers. And I realized that the strategies that I recommend to people myself who are visual super sensors of how to like reduce the stimulation of your visual senses. So, for instance, if you have a stack of paper in your office or in your bedroom or somewhere where you spend a lot of time and it's been out for more than 2 weeks, make a post-it, put it in your to-do list somewhere else that you need to attend to it. Because I know there's the fear we're going to forget about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you've already forgotten about it if it's been sitting there for 2 weeks and you haven't done it, right?
Yeah.
So let's put it away, put it out of sight, put it under the sofa, put it in a cabinet, put it in the closet, put it in the trunk of your car. Like, get it out of your visual field and just pick a few. So I have strategies for like, depending on what your super sense is, how can you use that information to reduce the amount of stimulation, the overstimulation that's coming in through that sense? And then how do we tap on it when we want to like raise our vibe, when we want to like get energized, when we're already okay, but we want to feel really good. So if I'm an auditory super sensor and I want to like say create 3 different playlists that I can access.
Yeah.
And like, I can never remember the names of the songs that I like ever. Like, who wrote that? I don't know. I could sing every word, but I don't know. And so we all have somebody in our life though, who has who spends their time like making these playlists.
Yeah.
So put it out in your Facebook group or your entrepreneur group or with your best friends and just say, does anybody have like great playlists they like?
Yeah.
And can I add one more thing?
Yes. I love you too.
I always recommend that you pick music that you particularly loved between the ages of like 14 and 24.
Right.
Because that's when our brains are most neuroplastic. And the music we listen to at those ages, the movies we watched, the friendships we held, like, oh, those go deep, right? Those like hit us on this visceral level. So like, yeah, you can listen to a song that you like right now that's a new song. But when you hear a song that you loved when you were 15 years old, it's going to release more endorphins in your body than something that you
That's why I listen to 90s music.
Yes.
I love all the 90s hip hop and rap. I mean, it's really funny. Like
it's so inappropriate and I can't even like play it in the house most of the time. And I asked my kids because they're musicians and I was like, so when you get older, like, and you have some time, can you remake some of those songs? It just changed the lyrics, like make them more appropriate.
It's just the beat, right? It was just the beat and the rhythm that we liked. Yes. They were playing some at the bowling alley the other day, and my youngest, I mean, he and I both, like, it just is in us. Like, we just couldn't sit still. I'm like, looking at him like he is totally my child. He is totally getting that from me. While my husband and my other son are just kind of sitting there, so he definitely gets his love for music and his rhythm from me, but I'm definitely a music lover. So I don't make a lot of playlists. I just pick stations on Pandora that I like or on
there you go.
Spotify or something. That's super easy to do. Yeah.
Easy. Do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Yes. I love it.
Car jam sessions, dance breaks throughout the day. Those are the things that really help me when I'm feeling that overwhelm. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So what are some other like just simple daily steps to reduce that overwhelm and to live a more fulfilled life? I know someone's listening and they're like, it's summertime. I'm already feeling the overwhelm.
Oh my gosh. Well, because who decided oh my gosh, summertime, right? Like that word has like all these sets of expectations, which for most moms, especially entrepreneur moms and especially entrepreneur moms that try to do any work from home.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Literally like last week, I was, I think like 2 days into summer vacation, and I like sent out like a Hail Mary, like white flag. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I forget to prepare for this transition? Right. I'm not prepared at all. Like I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a mom for a long time. What was I thinking? And I'm like beating myself up and panicking. And then, and then it gets better. But so the first thing I want to say about overwhelm is that it's different for everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
what causes overwhelm in your life is going to be very different from your sister, from your business partner, from your husband, from your neighbor, your best friend. And, there's two parts to this. One is how aligned is how you're spending your time, your money, your energy, your resources with what's really important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd like to say that overwhelm is not the number of things on your list, how many businesses you have, how many employees you're trying to manage, how many people you're taking care of. That all can add to it for sure. But what you're spending your time doing, if it's super aligned with what's really valuable and important to you, you might be exhausted at the end of the day, but it's with this fulfilled, like kind of satisfied feeling.
Mm-hmm.
If you're spending a lot of your time and energy on tasks that you don't really care about, that are not important to you, but maybe you're feeling pressure from the industry or from your extended family members or from your kids, and you're spending a lot of your time on those things, that's when we feel overwhelmed. And that's when it can lead to resentment and frustration and burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the solution to this, though, is not necessarily, because often it's impossible to like change everything, right? To just throw it all up in the air and say, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
I'm not doing any of the things that aren't aligned with what's really important to me, which, by the way, is what I think that millennials are brilliant at, right? Millennials are like, that doesn't feed my soul. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
People in our age group, think a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I recommend for us is to add one thing to your week, not even to your day, even just to your week, that really refuels you. So for instance, for me, it's dance classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't gone for several days because we had all kinds of things going on. So it's maybe been about a week. And I literally feel it, like my legs start to ache, like physically ache. I feel it. And I just went outside before this and I told my husband, I said, hey, I'm starting to get that achy feeling. I signed up for a register for a dance class tonight. He's like, go now. And I was like, well, I'm about to go on a podcast, but I will go tonight. And I appreciate your support.
Yes. Yes. And that's the biggest thing too, is having that support system. I think sometimes I was interviewing another guest earlier today, and we were talking about just that cape, that Superwoman cape that we put on, that we expect of ourselves to go and do, and don't ask for the support that we need. And maybe you've asked, so I would love to ask you, just as the licensed marriage and family therapist, like, it's really hard for women to ask for the help that they need. And sometimes when they do ask, they still don't get it right from their spouse, who's maybe not supportive of the business, or they're not supportive of, whatever dreams they have that the mom entrepreneur is trying to build. So like, what would you say to that? If someone's listening, they're like, I just don't have that support.
So I might have a little bit different advice than you might expect.
Okay.
Because we can't change other people.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. But we can really change how we show up. And that often changes other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to come from you first.
Yep.
And so if there's part of you, which there's almost always, so this is not a judgment, that feels guilty. Oh, I'm spending too much money on marketing. Oh, I'm spending too much time on this launch. Oh, the people in our life pick up on that, right?
Yeah.
And so when they say, hey, I think you're spending too much money on, like, what are you getting? Is there an ROI on that? Or, wow, you've been like every single night this week, you've been in your office. Like, what's happening?
Right.
Like, man, when that touches on a tender spot, then it makes us angry, right? Then we get more defensive. Right. But it's really because it touches a part of us that we kind of agree with.
Right. That we know
and
is
we
true.
are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Or we don't feel really strong with. When somebody says, hey, aren't you spending too much money on that PR person? If you wholly believe that she is so worth it, your PR person, and she is kicking butt, and she is bringing you clients that you've never had before, and they're right aligned with your, avatar, with who you love to work with. And it's just, getting the ball rolling, and it hasn't happened yet, but you fully are like confident, you're going to respond way differently.
Right.
You're going to say, actually, honey, this woman is amazing. She's doing things that I don't want to do. I can't do. And she's doing it in a way that's so incredible. And I'm already seeing the results. And, you speak back with that kind of confidence and clarity.
Right.
It's a whole different conversation. So I guess my answer is, the more clear and confident you can be about your choices, the better. That's part one, and communicate those.
Right.
The second part is sometimes when we complain or express exhaustion or frustration with a certain part of our business or a certain part of our life, often our partners want to protect us from that.
Of course. Yeah.
So they will say, well, you should stop doing, you don't even have to do this or da 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 da, because they want to solve the problem and they see the easiest way is just stop doing it. Do something else. This clearly isn't working. Why don't you try something else?
Right.
And that's really not what we want to hear most of the time.
Yes.
So that's when we have to say two things. We have to say what we're happy about. Say, oh my gosh, like I love doing podcasts. This part is really frustrating and I'm working on it. And I think I found a way around it, but I really love it. Like, make sure that your complaints are coupled with the whole story, that are coupled with the parts that you do love about it. So that they see, oh, you really love this work and you're really passionate about it. And there's just this one little area over here that's really frustrating right now or really hard. And maybe you just need some space to vent about it. But, and also obviously, express, like, I'm not actually looking for a solution. I just want I'm feeling exhausted today, so it's bothering me more than normal that, my numbers were down last month, but I'm not looking for a solution from you. So I have a great friend who, years ago, I remember starting to tell her about a problem I was having. And I don't even remember if it was professional or personal. And she immediately said, hang on just one sec, honey. Like, let me ask you, are you looking for a safe place to vent and be heard? Are you looking for like some advice? Or are you looking for some encouragement? Like, how can I show up as the friend that you need right now? And I was like, you're brilliant.
Isn't that a brilliant
question? That's amazing.
Yes.
Let me think about it for a moment, because I don't even know. Okay. Yeah. I think I just need a safe place to vent right now. I'm not quite ready for like solutions or suggestions.
Yeah.
And now I catch myself and you don't have to wait for somebody to ask you, right? You can say it ahead of time. And the second thing or the fifth, whatever it is now, I want to say about getting support is that it's really your job to teach people how to treat you. And, so many amazing people say this all the time is that, you teach people how to treat you through how you treat yourself.
Yeah.
So how many of you here will come home from like a conference, right? You come home from a conference, you come home from some, 3-day business retreat, you come home from a workshop, and maybe the people in your life say, hey, how was it? And you say, oh my gosh, it was great. But like, tell me, how did the soccer game go? Like, what's happening tomorrow? What you immediately, and I say this because I used to do it myself, immediately turn the attention off of you and back to everybody else. And this doesn't serve you or your family's relationships for two reasons. One, you deserve to acknowledge like, oh my gosh, I just did this. Like, this was really cool. I met these amazing people and we talked about this and they helped me. Oh my gosh, they helped me with this type of the business. And like, I really or I had so much fun and we laughed. And so it's showing that your life outside of family is also important and valuable and worthy of other people's attention.
Right.
So it's teaching them that. And because otherwise you just taught them the opposite. Oh, don't worry about mom stuff.
Yeah, that was really just important. That was just a little thing, and a lot of women would say that about their businesses. Oh, it's just a little something I'm doing on the side.
Yeah. And then the second part of that is that, especially for kids, is okay, so you just spent 3 days away from us and it wasn't a big deal and it wasn't even important to you and you didn't even care about it or have fun. So what does that mean about me?
Right.
And then how am I going to act the next time you want to go away for a conference?
Yeah.
Mom, don't go. Just stay. You clearly didn't even have a good time last time. You didn't even talk about it. You didn't even say one word about it.
Right.
I don't want you to go. Yeah. Why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Yep. So true. Such good points. We teach people how to treat us, and we're hard on ourselves. We really are hard on ourselves as mompreneurs. We have our expectations of ourselves, and what we do is just way more than most people have of us.
Right, right. And let's take responsibility for how other people treat us by modeling how we want to be treated,
Right. Yep.
by treating ourselves well, by
Yeah.
giving ourselves the time and attention and saying, actually, you know what? I need some like stare out the window downtime. I'm just going to go for a walk and sit at the park by myself because that's how I come up with ideas for my business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's important to me.
Well, and what we're modeling for your children too, right? So as they're watching how you're handling stress and how you're handling overwhelm, like they're
Yes.
learning from us on how to handle that. Are we just stuffing it down and just pushing through, or are we actually dealing with it? I think that's super healthy and something we need to be talking more about for sure.
Definitely. And sharing with them the struggles of it, but also the bright lights of it. And if it's in a really, if your business is in a really struggling point, share, why it's worth it to you to struggle through this.
Yeah.
What are the benefits? Not only like the long-term benefits, like, because you don't know what might happen, but what are you learning about yourself now? And like, what have you learned about past struggles that didn't work, maybe that quote failed?
Right.
And what were the gifts from those? And, and also it helps us to say it out loud because we're like, oh yeah, that was really good. I forgot about that. I didn't even give myself credit for that win.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hey friend. So you have been trying to make some shifts this year. Maybe you set some resolutions and you're just feeling stuck. You don't feel like you're making progress, or you're just not sure what to do. And you've heard me say this before, but being stuck is a mindset, not a position. And this is where a coach comes in to support you. Because here's what I know to be true about you, friend. If you could have done it alone, you would have already done it, period. And as a life coach and a certified PDP professional, I specialize in using a research-based personality and performance survey called the ProScan to illuminate how your unique personality and natural strengths, your work and life environments are influencing real-time performance. So here's what you need to do. Go to the link in the show notes and book your free clarity call to learn more about how I can support you in your goals. I can't wait to illuminate your strengths, cultivate your confidence, and elevate your life. So how do we, understand just the emotional triggers of others and to be more accepting of that?
Okay. So I want to get into the 5 anxiety styles for sure here. And I think that you asked the perfect question for that. And so I have a framework I talk about called the 5 anxiety styles. And those are the lover, the fighter, the dynamo, the executive, and the visionary. And the thing about anxiety is that we all have different contributing factors. We all have different emotional triggers. So like what triggers you is going to be different than what triggers your partner, and what triggers your business partner, and what triggers your kids. And we all have different, what I call superhero traits that also develop as a result of these anxiety styles. So there are things that you are amazing at that I'm terrible at, and vice versa. And I want us to all take a moment and acknowledge and celebrate those traits that you have that nobody else has. And I think entrepreneur moms, as you said, are really hard on ourselves, and we can always benefit from acknowledging and celebrating our strengths and our wins.
Yep.
And they also have different life lessons. So because of that, depending on your anxiety style, what is going to work to help you is going to be different than what's going to work to help somebody else.
Right.
And so when we try to use the strategies, so if like a lover mom tries to use the strategies that are really built for the visionary or the dynamo, it's just going to fall flat. And then we end up kind of digging ourselves even deeper into the emotional hole. It's just like when somebody comes to you and says, they look great, say they just like whatever, they've just gotten really good shape and they're strong and they look amazing. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, you look great and you have all this energy. Like, what did you do? And they say, oh my gosh, I joined this CrossFit gym, or I get up at 4 and I like hike this mountain. And you're like, that's amazing.
Right.
And so we think like, well, should I be doing that?
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And like, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a time where you say, okay, I want those results. But is there a method, my method?
Right.
And that's when self-awareness is super key. And the anxiety styles is a way to open a little bit more self-awareness. So if I know I'm a lover and this is what drives me, then I can link my goals accordingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
can link my rewards accordingly. I can find strategies that are going to work for me, and I can communicate to the people in my life, hey, what's really important to me is like, time with you. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the 5 love languages. Like when you
Right.
understand your language, then you're more likely to get what you want from other
Yeah.
people, get what
Yeah.
you really crave, I should
Yeah.
say, because I think it's deeper than wanting. It's more of a craving.
Food. Mm-hmm.
And you're more likely to not take things personally when other people don't show up in a way that really
Right.
satisfies
Yeah.
you,
Right.
because
Right.
that's just how they're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reflection of them, not a reflection of you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. When we did the 5 love languages, it was this was years ago. My husband and I both were like, this should be done before every marriage. Like it's once you get it, you're like, well, now that makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
total sense why you're frustrated or why I'm frustrated, and when we are feeling, I forget what you said earlier about the tank.
Emotional bank account.
Yeah, emotional bank account. Like we do that with the love too. Our love account. Okay, why am I feeling more on E? Well, it's because you haven't been speaking my language or I haven't been speaking yours, and it's just such a simple concept, but so powerful. And I think your anxiety. What did you call it?
Styles.
Or
Anxiety
styles.
styles. Yeah. So do you want me to
Same
describe a
thing.
little bit of
Yes, I
each
would
one?
love it. Yes.
So each one of them in the book, and it's on Audible too, it goes into a lot more detail clearly. So I'll just touch on some
Yeah.
of the facets
Yep.
of each so you can kind of get an idea. But you can do the quiz and find out which one you are. And then I have a bunch of really cool bonuses specific to each anxiety style also on my website.
Okay, cool.
We can share that later. So do you have an idea which one you want to start with?
I mean, the lover one sounds interesting.
Okay. Okay, cool. So lovers and that's probably the closest to the 5 love languages too. So lovers are going to be really driven by their relationships with the people in their life and wanting to feel loved, wanting to feel wanted, wanting to feel like people want to be around you and want to give you their time and attention and energy. And everybody loves that, right? Like everybody wants to feel wanted. But with lovers, it kind of goes an extra layer of tenderness around that subject. So for instance, if you see that several of your friends or work colleagues got together for drinks last night, and you're like, well, hey, I was here, like I couldn't do it, but I would have wanted to be invited. Like most people or many would feel kind of a natural, maybe disappointment or, like, oh, that kind of sucks, or I'm sad about that. Lovers will tend to spiral with it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, is Martine mad at me? Did I say something? Did my kid say something to her kid? Like, what were they talking about me? Maybe they just have never liked me ever, and they've just been acting, and they thought I wouldn't find out. It just goes into this super unhealthy spiral. And these are for lovers who, now there might be people who are like, oh, I used to do that, but I've grown and I've learned already strategies to kind of move through that. But that's when that's at your core. So, and really, like, for instance, I'll touch on the life lesson for this one. The life lesson for lovers is, how do I link my self-worth and my self-love, my feelings of value to my own qualities, to how I feel about myself, instead of not only how you feel about me, but how I think you feel about me. It's just my perception. Like, I don't really know how you feel about me. But if today my perception is that you don't really like me, you don't really want to be around me, and my self-value and my feelings of self-worth plummet, that's exhausting every day to have your own level of self-worth be based on your perceptions of how other people may or may not feel about you.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so really the life lesson for lovers is, how do I begin to really develop a more foundational sense of self-love and self-worth that comes from within, that's stable and sturdy, regardless of how other people treat me, what they say, what that look they give me. Oh, she didn't really wave at me when we crossed at pickup, and I swear she saw me. How do I make that not affect my self-worth, because my self-worth is so strong already?
Right. Very interesting.
So in the book, I have all of these like very simple, practical, preventative strategies. What can you do every day as a lover? What can you do once a week as a lover? What can you do once a year as a lover that's going to really help build that feeling of emotional security that's so strong that it doesn't get rifled and triggered by other people as much.
Right. Is that something that, is it similar? Not similar, but like, so is it age related? Do you, anybody should take this quiz to find out this information about themselves?
Anybody. I mean, I do say with kids and even teens that they're still developing.
Yeah.
So they might have tendencies, or they might kind of flow and ebb, and they're still having experiences that are going to impact them and kind of create their anxiety style later. So at the same time, I say that, if these practical strategies are helping them, then great. Then use it. And this is good for anybody. Like if you're a visionary, but you really love the strategies in the fighter section, use those. Like use what serves you.
Right.
It's not against the rules. And sometimes we have maybe a dominant anxiety style, and then we have a secondary that's right up in there that pops in. But we tend to kind of have, one that's kind of one of our core drivers, so to speak. So for instance, executives are really driven by their need to feel emotionally secure. And they tend to do this through organizing, planning, controlling the environment, controlling what might happen, being prepared, protecting others. So they're the people who develop these amazing so I'll talk about superhero traits when it comes to executives. Like they tend to be the ones that people call on when like, oh gosh, you're great at organizing things, or do you know where this is? And they know where everything is. They're organized. They're super dependable. They're super loyal. They are the ones who, for instance, one of my editors for the book, she is an executive and not a mom, because it doesn't really matter. But she said it was not until her mid-30s that she realized it was, I don't want to say odd because that feels like a judgment, but like not common to carry around a first aid kit wherever she went. And I was like, I have 4 small kids. I don't even have a Band-Aid on me most of the time.
The truth.
I am clearly not an exec. Now I'm really good at, I have a lot of organizational skills that have developed, as I'm sure a lot of entrepreneur moms here have. Like you kind of have to figure out some stuff. But it's not driven. It's not like my core driver that makes me feel safe in the world. And so for instance, if an executive is married to a lover, and I have a whole chapter in the book about how to communicate between the two, every combination. And even if you have 2 of the same, it's not necessarily like those. That also comes with the flip side of the coin. Some amazing parts and some like not so great. So for instance, if an executive is working late, and so say I'm an executive and we're partners and you're a lover, and I'm saying like, hey Martine, so I'm not gonna be home till late, just so you know. For an executive, or even a dynamo, like that's enough information. Like I stopped what I was doing and I gave you the information, and that was like so respectful and kind to our relationship, and that should be good. That should be good. And for a lover, especially if the relationship is tenuous, or you're already arguing about other things, or there's been some disconnect, might automatically think, well, what's Amber doing? Like, is she going to eat dinner there at the office? Like, are there other people staying there? Are they going out for drinks like afterwards? Like, who else is there? Like, does she really have something that she needs to stay late for? Or is she just avoiding me because we haven't kind of been getting along lately and I've been being a bitch? Like, what is it? And that's where your mind goes. So what I recommend for people in this scenario on both sides, they can facilitate this kind of communication, is that the executive either give or the lover ask for 2 more pieces of information. One is a little bit more detail about what you're doing. And why you want to stay late. So I might say, oh my gosh, well, we have this trip planned this weekend and I just don't want to be doing work while we're gone, because we're probably not going to have any Wi-Fi connection at that cabin. And so I want to edit these last 2 podcasts, get the marketing, get the graphics set up and send them to my assistant so that I don't have to think about it anymore. So that's the first step. The second step is a date to reconnect. So I might say, hey, how about when I get home, like if the kids are already in bed, we put on the next episode of Succession and,
Yeah.
we'd order a pizza or we eat leftovers from last night. How
Yeah.
does that sound?
Yeah.
So it's a date to reconnect. So then maybe Martine is less likely to think, I don't want to spend time with you
Right.
because
Yeah.
you just offered to spend time with me. Okay. And now I also understand a little bit. So when I get home, then instead of you asking me,
A bazillion
so baby,
questions.
what were we doing?
Yeah.
Did you eat already? Because there's food here. You're not hungry?
Right.
Okay, that's interesting. You know,
Right. Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of that, I might get like, oh, did you finish the episodes? Like, so this weekend we're totally clear. Like, you're not gonna have to work on work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It
different.
changes it. Yeah. It changes the conversation. When you
Exactly.
understand yourself, I think. And then also, you can honor and respect the differences of others when you can stand in confidence in your own strengths, right? In
Exactly.
your own awareness.
And if you know by reading this that you're a lover and you're married to an executive, okay, they're just not thinking this way.
Right. Right. They're not going to think like me, and I have to be okay with that, but I need to communicate in a way that's going to serve both of us.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And make them feel safe too. Like, so I'll go on to, let's say, oh, I can do the reverse example. So say a lover comes home and says, oh my gosh, my girlfriend just had to cancel their weekend plans because whatever. And they had rented this cabin all weekend and they
Mm-hmm.
said we could have it.
Right.
Like, and it starts tonight. Like, let's
Yeah.
pack up the kids and go. Like, we'll just
Right.
order, we'll get food on the way. Like, let's
Right.
just do it. Oh my gosh. Like, we get to spend all. So for a lover, that's like, oh my gosh, I get to spend all weekend with my
Mm-hmm.
favorite people
Yeah.
and so fun. And an executive's like, hold up, you just changed everything. I had all these things planned. Are you kidding me? Like, and so if you know
Yeah.
that about me, then you can say, hey, honey, I know this is a big change.
Right. Right.
And like, maybe we don't go tonight. Maybe we pack tonight
Mm-hmm.
and email some people and cancel plans for the weekend and go first thing in the morning, you know?
Right.
And then otherwise, as a lover, I might be like, well, they don't want to spend time with me.
Yeah. You feel shut down. You would immediately just feel shut down by that person if they didn't respond the way you respond.
Right. Right. But if you know ahead of time, like, okay, this is good news,
Yeah.
but I can't drop it like this on them. I have to prepare them and the result will be hopefully much better. And same thing for executive. Executive might say, okay, I want to go. I like the
Right.
idea, but it's stressing me out thinking of all the things I just had planned and that I might have to cancel. That makes me feel really uncomfortable.
Right.
Not the plan, but the change is what's
Right.
stressing me out. So can we do this?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why both should take it, right? Because if I only have the awareness of myself, but they don't have the awareness of
Yeah.
them, then it can make that difficult.
And you might know, like you might, as we go through these five, and I'll go quicker through the other ones, but like you might be like, oh yeah, that's my partner.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I can ping my partner pretty quickly. Yes. Yes. For sure.
Okay, so shall you hop to the next one?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do fighters. So fighters are really driven by their need to protect others, and they deem themselves really like, fighters, survivors.
Mm-hmm.
They often became their own protectors because they maybe in their childhood didn't have somebody who was doing that for them. So they quickly developed their own survival skills, right?
Right.
And their own ability to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And as an adult, they find it very difficult often to see an injustice, an unfairness, anything in the world that seems not right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and stay uninvolved.
Yeah.
Like they will move toward that.
Yeah.
So you might know you're a fighter if people your whole life have been telling you, like, why do you even care? Why are you even involved in that? It
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with you. Why are we even talking about this?
Yeah.
They can't help it. And it comes from this beautiful urge to protect.
Right. Right.
To
Yeah.
protect because they didn't have that. So a lot of the strategies for fighters they're also very, very comfortable in the chaos, comfortable in the challenge. They kind of get an adrenaline rush from the fighting,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and because
Yeah.
because that's what they're comfortable with. That's what they're accustomed to. And that's what they know how to deal with. So what can trigger a fighter on the emotional spectrum is calm. Everything's good. Everything's fine. that can feel very uncomfortable to a fighter who hasn't kind of worked through a lot of their childhood trauma and things like that, because they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I'd rather know. You probably have friends that you could think of right away who are like, I'd rather know what's going to happen than like, I'd rather have like be in it than just waiting for something to go wrong. Like that can feel very uncomfortable.
It's like the fear of the unknown. Like they can deal with the conflict head on, but they're waiting on that shoe to drop, and they're all these unknowns. Yeah.
Right. So because of that, if it's not conscious, if you're not like really conscious of your choices and your decisions and your actions, fighters can draw to them a lot of conflicts. So it could be like financial ups and downs, relationship ups and downs, because that's what you're more comfortable with. So you can kind of egg it on like, well, I'm going to poke you because I don't want you to attack me when I'm not looking, when I'm not prepared for it. So I'm going to poke you. Are you going to get mad at this yet? Are you going to, where are your limits? So I know, right? So I'm prepared. And so really with fighters, it's about how do I become two things, like more and more comfortable in when life is good, when my finances are healthy, when my physical body is healthy, when my relationships are healthy. How do I become more and more accustomed to and know that like I actually deserve to have a successful, thriving business.
Right.
I actually deserve to have a team that is like functioning like so well and like supports each other and is kind and compassionate and like geniuses and like, so everything's just like working so smoothly and like clockwork, like that's amazing. And I feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know, how do I track that into my life and not have it feel boring? So that's the other part is they're going to always want that. So I always say like, choose, be purposeful in the challenge you bring into your life. So maybe I'm like, I'm going to start signing up for like mud marathons, or I'm going to travel to a country where like I don't speak the language and I don't know what to do, or I'm going to sign up for some, like I'm going to go karaoke and sing. Like I'm going to get that adrenaline rush in a way that serves me and doesn't like really like create cracks or turmoil in my life in areas that I really don't want to be messed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the fighter.
I think about some people who just, they always have to have that energy.
Yeah.
Where, you know, where it comes from. And so they create things that don't even need to be created because they're just, like you said, that fighter. So they need to have those adventures and those challenges, good ones, not just creating ones for the sake of creating one. Yeah.
So I want fighters to learn those skills of creating more purposeful conflict and challenge in their life.
Yeah.
And decide little things. You can add one little thing for fighters can be just asking, do I want to skip this fight? Is the question. So like right before you decide to jump in, you feel yourself jumping in. It's the self-awareness first, and then ask, do I have the bandwidth for this right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Okay. You can always skip that fight.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay. You are not responsible for saving everybody.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And that's hard to hear for a lot of fighters.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say fighters are the empathetic people as well? Or where would the empathetic people fall into the...
I mean, I tend to think that like everybody can have that empathy gene. So like I'm a dynamo and also have a lot of empathic tendencies, which I wouldn't necessarily say like correlate specifically to dynamos at all.
Right.
So I think every one of these you can be empathic in all of these, and it's just going to show up differently.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to tune in to different things. So like, you know, lovers are very attuned to people's moods and behavior because they want to know, am I safe? Like, do you like me still?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be super tuned into that, you know?
Yeah.
With dynamos, which we can hop into next, you know, are all about acknowledgement, respect, achievement, doing, going, you know, thinking, planning. But it's really comes down to this need to feel like you're achieving and that you're getting this, you're receiving back the respect and acknowledgement for those achievements.
Right.
So for dynamos, a lot of the strategies are around slowing down, celebrating and acknowledging that thing you just accomplished, which was amazing. So I'll give the example of my book. You know, I now have a lot of strategies that I do daily to help me slow down and be in gratitude and acknowledgement of what's going well, instead of just immediately pitching the next thing, which is what I did. I immediately pitched not only this series, but this other book that I have half written already. So and I just plan to write your book retreat in August. And then I have this, and it's like immediately boom, 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 boom. Next thing.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm not going to ever not do, because that's what's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's fun for me. And probably a lot of entrepreneur moms here can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But where is it not serving me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how can I implement some strategies in my daily life that can help me to really slow down a little bit, acknowledge those achievements, and life lesson here, know that I'm valuable and worthy regardless of my next book or the book after that or the book after that. Like, that's bonus. If I want to write those, great. But if it's coming from this, like, I got to prove that I'm worthy. I got to prove that I'm smart. I got to prove that I can do it. That's coming from a super different place than like, I just love writing books and I want to help a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds really fun. And you know what? I'm going to write a much better book if I'm coming at it from that attitude than this other attitude, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Did we cover the 5? Did we get all 5?
We didn't do visionary, but I'll do it very briefly.
Okay.
So visionaries are all about, making a long-term impact in the world, a big impact in the world. And so what can drive a lot of visionaries to feel anxious and frustrated is when, say, the people around them don't get it. They're not visionaries. And they're thinking, what are you doing? Like, who even does that? Like, who even tries to build an app that, serves, I don't know, birthday cakes to people on their birthdays? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of something in my mind. Why are you doing that? Like, you have 2 small kids, like they need you right now. You're, like, what are you doing? That can feel super frustrating, right? And isolating for visionaries. And that's why groups like these and podcasts like this are so important. Like, find those like minds.
Right.
Also, having a vision and feeling like you don't know exactly what it is, or having a vision and seeing somebody else accomplish what you are trying to do can be really frustrating too.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that was my dream. And it's okay. Like, there's space. We all know this, but sometimes it's hard to really know it. That like, there's space for all of you if you all had identical dreams, because you're going to do it in different ways.
Exactly. That needs to be like broadcasted, I feel like, to every entrepreneur, like every single day, like a ping on their phone to remind them, like, there really are very few unique ideas and trainings and things out there. It's just unique in the way that you deliver it, right? And unique in the way and the stories that you have that surround it. But so many dreams and things are left on the table because they think, well, someone's already doing that. They're not doing it the way you're doing it. And
so let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think you're a visionary?
I don't know. I think I'm a visionary somewhat in Dynamo too.
And Dynamo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
Both of those, I was like, yep, I see that. Yep, I see that. Yep, I see that.
One of the things with visionaries that I've been learning lately, actually, the more I've been talking about this book specifically, is that visionaries will often hold off on an idea or like a website rebuild. I had one visionary said that. She was like, I'm not editing it yet.
Yeah.
Because we want it to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we wait. And here's the thing. It's not going to be perfect anyway.
I know. You're going to lose your email like I did for the last 10 days. The email completely stopped working the week of the launch of the website. I was like, okay, this is great. Yeah, this is great.
Oh my gosh.
The website looks beautiful, but anybody's emailing me. I wasn't getting any of them and I won't get any of them. So I went to social media with that. But
everybody go email her right now, find her last newsletter and email her now with how great it was and how much you love her new website. Seriously. Because we all would love, like, we work on something for so long.
Yeah.
But I would say with visionaries, like, try to do just the next step and know that this is somebody. I also started a nonprofit recently for the emotional and mental health of teens. And the website went live and I was like, it looks awful. Like, I don't even want to share it with anybody. It's terrible. And somebody on our advisory board who was much more brilliant than myself said, this is the worst it's going to ever look. It's the worst it's going to ever look. Like, it's only going to get better. And I was like, oh,
perspective.
That resonated with me.
Yes.
Because I was like, I can handle that. Of course, this is the worst it's ever going to look. And of course, it's going to get better because I'm not going to just leave it like this.
Right.
And so I'm okay with that now.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's all in the way you look at things, right?
100%. All of it.
Changes it. Well, I know people who can't wait to dive into this book and just get even more into these areas and just learn more about the book and you and all the work that you're doing. So thank you first and foremost for the work you are doing for moms, because it is super important. And there's so many women out there that need your message and need that self-awareness, right? The more we understand ourselves and how we operate naturally and what our gifts are, just the more joy we can have on the journey, and we can overcome that overwhelm that we talked about at the very beginning. So tell them the name of your book. I don't think we've said that yet. And
I know. I just realized that.
We're going to put it all in the show notes.
It's a big secret.
But yeah,
I'm not the best at marketing. Clearly, I should have said it like 12 times already. It's called The Unflustered Mom, and it is available anywhere you can find books. And if you love independent bookstores, like, get it from an independent bookstore or get it from bookshop.org or get it from, I order a ton of stuff on Amazon, but also if you can order it from other places, order it from other places. And like I said at the beginning, I do have individual like guided meditations for each anxiety style, guided mantra recordings for each anxiety style, a bunch of really cool bonuses that if you take the quiz at flourishquiz.com and then you go to my website, which is just my name, ambertrueblood.com. And then you put in like, oh, I'm an executive or I'm a dynamo. And then I'll send you all of those really cool bonuses.
So fun. Well, I can't wait to go check it out. I love this kind of stuff. I'm super interested in it. So I can't wait to go check it out. And we'll put all the information on your website and the book and everything. Are you on social media? Can they come find you on social media?
Oh, yes, that too. I am on Instagram at official Amber Trueblood. I also have a Facebook group community, the Unflustered Mom community.
Okay, good.
Share all of the cool things that come up. Because I'm constantly learning new ones too. And I'm like, oh, everybody, I just learned this new thing. Like, here's what I'm doing. And it's awesome. Yeah. So, and it is on Audible too, because it works. It's a reference guide. You can kind of just open it and like be like, oh, this is interesting, and just read it. You don't have to read it start to finish. But if you do prefer audiobooks, it's on Audible as well under the Unflustered Mom.
That's how I get a lot of my reading done these days is through the Audible version. I listen to it on audio, and if I like it enough, then I'll buy the physical copy, because I also like to write notes.
Me too.
And underline and all of that stuff. So
same.
Yes.
What are you listening to now?
I'm trying to think what I just finished. I've actually been on a little bit of a vacay. I had a day vacation with my son for graduation. So I actually read a book that my friend wrote, who had just a tragedy in her life with a child and her husband. And it was just like, I knew the story because she's local, but to read all the details, it's not
The Rules Don't Apply. What is it?
It's Over the Underpass.
Okay.
Over the Underpass. And it's by Linda Stapleton. So she was kind of a mentor of mine. Again, I knew the story, but to read it again in the book, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So I go back and forth I love true stories, and I love like nonfiction. I'm not a fictional reader for the most part. So that's all personal development stuff I love. Totally geek out over it. So yeah. So I'll be adding yours to the list. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show. I think we could have talked for another 2 hours. So I appreciate your time and sharing all this information with us. I know everybody's going to be going and checking it out.
Me too. I hope y'all enjoy, and I hope it helps you.
Yes. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much. And we will catch you on the next episode. And y'all know I'm believing in you always. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.